Professor Patricia Galloway. And I understand that you want to have, first of all, the whole idea about my education. I began as an undergraduate in French at Millsaps College in Jackson, Mississippi. Sounds obscure, doesn't it? And then I went to the University of North Carolina to do an MA in comparative literature. That was in 1968. That was a long time ago. And then I took a year out and went to the Goodman School of Drama, where I studied acting in 1968-69. And then I went back to UNC, figuring that maybe I shouldn't do that for my life's work, and finished my comparative literature PhD. And then well, what can I say? I later I wasn't sorry that I had done that PhD, but I decided that it was time for me to sort of shake myself up and do another PhD. And so that was, I finished that in 2004. After I got here, actually, thus telling you that it's possible to get a job in a university without having 2 PhDs. Anyway, so the next big question is sort of how did I come to information studies? And the thing that was interesting about this was that it made me think about how that had happened and what things I had brought to it. And so the thing to remember is that I finished my PhD, my first PhD in 1973, when there were no jobs at all. If you think this is bad, you have never seen anything. And so I decided I would volunteer to be an archaeologist in England, Germany, and Norway, which I did from the period from 73 to 77. Now, you may think, why is she a crazy person to do this? But that my comparative literature specialty was in medieval studies. And so I was very interested in sort of trolling around and looking at a little archaeology. And so I did that seriously for 4 years. The interesting thing about it was that if I have learned anything about classification, I learned it from that. I noticed basically that what we're looking at is a new way of knowing, and because it was new to me, I realized that it was a constructed way of knowing. And so that really made me think that what the story was that we were doing, and I ended up running labs and processing materials, is that what we were doing was thinking about a schema for the storage of the actual research design that had been thought of when the people were doing the excavation. And that's what we were storing. We weren't storing what it really was, we were storing the research design. Anyway, that was pretty cool. And I got some good experience in classification in that area. And specifically, I became an expert in bone and antler combs from the late medieval period. So, okay, what do I do in the field? What am I interested in? Digital archiving, that's what I was asked to come for. I was asked to devise digital archiving courses, etc. What I'm interested in is hardware and software and the history of the field, which is not too surprising since I've been alive for most of it. And my research interests are especially in machines and software and preserving how the machines and software make the environment from which things have come, and the history of computers and especially history of programming, and emulation and virtualization, which you may have heard of if you've done any playing of old games. Why is this area of the field important? Well, because first of all, if you sort of take the long view, born digital materials are a two-edged sword in some ways. They don't take up very much space. So of course you can say, well, we can keep more. Yes, but then because that's the case, surveillance can become more pervasive. How much information have you already given away to Facebook? So appraisal and open access to digital materials is necessary. And so I also teach appraisal. The classes that I teach are appraisal and selection of records, introduction to electronic and digital records, that's the beginning course. And then I teach digital archiving and preservation. And then for fun. I teach historical museums, context and practice, and that's really a joy to me because I've been watching the museums in this town for I think it's 15 years, and what's really interesting is what nobody ever pays attention to, which is how they change over time. So that's basically me, and that's what I do.